I stood there in my clearance rack dress while my husband told his boss I was just a housewife who couldn't even balance a checkbook. Everyone laughed. But when his boss asked to speak with me privately, my husband's face went white. He had no idea who he'd really married. Before we get into this story, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You're not going to want to miss what happens next. Drop a comment and tell me. Have you ever been underestimated by someone who should have known better? Now, let me tell you about the night my husband learned the most expensive lesson of his life. You know, they say love is blind, but sometimes love is just willfully ignorant. My name is Angela, and 5 years ago I met a man named Trevor at a coffee shop in downtown Atlanta. I was exhausted, wearing yoga pants and an old college sweatshirt, my hair pulled back in a messy bun. I'd just come from back-to-back board meetings and I needed a moment to just be nobody. Not the CEO, not the investor, just a woman getting coffee. Trevor was charming. He had this easy smile and confidence that drew me in. He worked in sales at a mid-sized tech company, and when he asked what I did, I told him I was between things. It wasn't a lie exactly. I was between meetings. He assumed I meant between jobs, and I didn't correct him. For the first time in years, someone was looking at me without dollar signs in their eyes. He wasn't intimidated, he wasn't calculating. He was just interested in me. We started dating and it was refreshing. He'd pick up the check at dinner, proudly telling me he wanted to take care of me. He never asked too many questions about my background, and I never volunteered the information. See, my family built their wealth 3 generations back, and I took a modest trust fund and turned it into a 9-figure investment empire by the time I was 30. But I kept everything private, operating through an LLC, using my maiden name for business. Williams. Angela Williams. When I married Trevor 2 years into our relationship, I became Angela Foster socially, but my business world never knew about the marriage. I thought I was being smart. I thought I was protecting myself. I wanted to be loved for who I was, not what I had. But looking back now, I realize I was also testing him, testing whether he'd love me if he thought I had nothing. And honey, let me tell you, he failed that test spectacularly. The first year of marriage was good. Trevor was attentive, loving, supportive. He'd come home and tell me about his day, and I'd listen, offering advice that I pretended was just common sense. But as his career started growing, something shifted. He got promoted to senior sales manager, then regional director. His salary increased and so did his ego. He started making little comments here and there. Must be nice not having to work. Or, some of us actually have deadlines. I'd laugh it off, but inside I was taking notes. His friends would come over and they'd joke about me being a kept woman. Trevor would laugh along, sometimes adding his own jabs. Yeah, she's got it easy. I'm out here grinding while she's watching talk shows. I'd smile and bring them beers, playing the role perfectly. But I was watching him. Watching how easily he diminished me when he thought I couldn't contribute financially. Watching how he needed to feel superior. Part of me wanted to tell him the truth right then, pull out my portfolio and watch his jaw drop. But another part of me needed to see how deep this went. How far would he go? Would he defend me if pushed? Would his love hold up when he thought I brought nothing to the table? I kept quiet, kept playing housewife, kept waiting. Then came the invitation to his company's annual gala. Trevor was excited about it for weeks. It was a big deal. All the executives would be there, including the CEO and board members. He wanted to make an impression. The week before the party, he sat me down with this serious look on his face. Listen, Angela, this is important for my career. I need you to dress nice, but not too expensive. I don't want people thinking we're trying too hard, and just smile and nod when people talk business. Don't try to contribute to conversations about things you don't understand. Just be supportive, okay? I looked at him sitting there, mansplaining my role at a party for a company I literally owned 40% of, and I just nodded. Of course, honey. Whatever you need. The night of the gala, I pulled out a simple black dress I'd bought on sale 2 years ago. Nothing fancy, I kept my jewellery minimal, small earrings, no necklace. Trevor barely looked at me when I came downstairs. He just checked his watch and said, "We're late. Let's go." The venue was beautiful, I'll give them that. They'd rented out the ballroom at the Riverside Hotel, the one with the crystal chandeliers and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the water. As we walked in, I recognized several people. The CEO, Mr. Harrison, had been in meetings with my investment team just 3 months prior. The CFO had sent my office a fruit basket after we increased our stake in the company. But out of context, in my simple dress with my husband's last name, I was invisible to them, just another spouse in the crowd. Trevor left me the moment we walked through the door. Didn't even grab me a drink first. Just said, "I need to network," and disappeared into a crowd of suits. I stood by the bar, sipping water, watching. Mr. Harrison walked right past me twice, didn't even glance my way. It was fascinating, really, how much appearance shaped recognition. About an hour in, Trevor spotted me and waved me over. He was standing with a group of his colleagues, all holding drinks, all looking various shades of corporate ambitious. "Hey, there's my wife," Trevor announced as I approached. "Angela, come meet some important people." The way he said important people made my skin crawl. But I smiled and extended my hand to shake theirs. They nodded politely and then Trevor started talking. "Yeah, Angela's a housewife. She's never worked a day in her life. But hey, someone's got to keep the home fires burning, right?" His colleagues laughed awkwardly. I kept smiling. But Trevor wasn't done. He never knew when to stop. "I keep telling her she should at least get a hobby. Maybe take a cooking class or something, but she's content just watching TV all day." More uncomfortable laughter. One of the women in the group looked at me with pity. I wanted to tell her not to waste it on me. Then Mr. Harrison joined the circle and Trevor's performance went into overdrive. This was his moment to shine in front of the boss. "Mr. Harrison." "Sir, I was just telling everyone about my wife. Angela, this is the CEO I've been telling you about." I shook Mr. Harrison's hand. He smiled politely, no recognition in his eyes. Trevor continued, emboldened by his audience. "You know, Mr. Harrison, I have to apologize in advance. My wife has no filter when it comes to spending. Last week, she wanted to buy a designer purse. I had to sit her down and explain that we have bills to pay. She thinks credit cards are magic." He laughed at his own joke. Mr. Harrison didn't laugh. He was looking at me with this odd expression I couldn't quite place. "She doesn't really understand what I do here," Trevor went on. "Tried to explain our quarterly projections once and her eyes just glazed over. But that's okay. Not everyone's cut out for business, right?" He actually patted my shoulder like I was a child. The entire group fell silent. The air shifted. Mr. Harrison's expression changed from puzzled to uncomfortable to something close to horrified. He kept glancing at me, then back at Trevor, then at me again. Finally, he cleared his throat. "Trevor, would you excuse us for a moment? I'd like to speak with your wife privately." Trevor looked confused, but tried to play it cool. "Oh, sure. Everything okay?" Mr. Harrison didn't answer, just gestured for me to follow him. As we walked away, I heard Trevor whisper to his colleagues, "Wonder what that's about. Honey, just apologize for whatever you did." He actually thought I was in trouble. The irony was delicious. Mr. Harrison led me to a quiet corner near the windows, away from the crowd. His face was pale and he kept running his hand through his hair. "Ms. Williams," he said quietly, using my maiden name. "I apologize profusely. I didn't recognize you out of context. Does your husband know who you are?" I took a slow breath. "No, Mr. Harrison. He doesn't. I kept my business life private." "Ms. Williams, you're our largest single investor. You own 40% of this company. Your investment firm has been instrumental in our growth over the past 3 years." He looked back toward where Trevor was standing, probably still bragging. "Your husband has been talking all month about landing a meeting with Meridian Investments. He has no idea that's your company, does he?" "No," I said simply. "He doesn't." Mr. Harrison looked physically ill. "Mom, I need to know how you want me to handle this. That behavior, those comments, that's not how we treat anyone, Let alone... He stopped himself. How would you like to proceed? I looked across the ballroom at my husband. He was laughing, drink in hand, probably telling another story about his incompetent wife. I'd given him 5 years. 5 years to see me. Really see me. 5 years to treat me with basic respect when he thought I had nothing. He'd failed every single day. Mr. Harrison, I said calmly, I think it's time everyone knew who I am. Would you mind making an introduction? The colour drained from his face completely, but he nodded. Of course, Miss Williams. Whatever you need. We walked back toward the centre of the ballroom. Mr. Harrison signalled to someone, and the music lowered. He stepped up onto the small stage at the front of the room and took the microphone. Good evening, everyone. If I could have your attention for just a moment. The room quieted. I saw Trevor near the back, looking annoyed that his networking was being interrupted. I want to take a moment to properly introduce someone very special to our company, Mr. Harrison continued. Many of you may have seen her here tonight but didn't realise who she was. Ms. Angela Williams, could you please join me? He extended his hand toward me. I walked toward the stage and I could feel every eye in the room following me. Trevor's face appeared in my peripheral vision, his expression confused. Why was his housewife wife being called on stage? When I stepped up and took the microphone from Mr. Harrison, the confusion turned to concern. Good evening, everyone, I said, my voice steady and clear. For those who don't know me, my name is Angela Williams. I'm the founder and CEO of Meridian Investments. I paused, watching realization dawn on faces throughout the crowd. Meridian has been invested in this company for 3 years now, and we currently hold a 40% stake as the largest single shareholder. The room was completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. I found Trevor in the crowd. His face had gone from tan to grey. His mouth was slightly open. His colleagues had taken a step away from him. I want to thank Mr. Harrison and the entire executive team for their partnership. It's been a pleasure watching this company grow. I handed the microphone back and stepped down from the stage. The room erupted in polite applause, but it sounded distant, muffled. All I could focus on was Trevor, frozen in place, his drink forgotten in his hand. He started pushing through the crowd toward me. Angela, wait. Baby, I can explain. His voice was desperate, panicked. Everyone was watching. His colleagues, his boss, his subordinates, all witnessing his public unraveling. I held up my hand and he stopped. Trevor, there's nothing to explain. I heard every word you said tonight. I've heard every word you've said for the past 2 years. I was joking, he stammered. You know I didn't mean any of it. It was just locker room talk. You know how guys are. I don't think you understand, I said quietly, but my voice carried in the silent room. You didn't marry a housewife who can't balance a checkbook. You married someone who built a 9-figure business from scratch, someone who chose to invest in your company, someone who loved you enough to let you feel like the provider, like the smart one, like the successful one. I gave you that gift, Trevor, and you used it to humiliate me. He reached for my arm, but I stepped back. Angela, please, we can talk about this at home. Don't do this here. Why not? You had no problem doing it here. You had no problem making me the punchline of your jokes in front of your colleagues, in front of your boss, in front of everyone who actually signs your paycheck, which, by the way, I essentially do. I took a breath. We're done, Trevor. You'll find divorce papers on the kitchen table when you get home. You have 24 hours to collect your things. You can't be serious, his voice cracked. Over a few jokes? Angela, I love you. No, I said firmly. You loved the idea of me. The quiet, simple wife who made you feel important. You never loved me because you never bothered to know who I actually was. I turned to Mr. Harrison. Thank you for the lovely evening. I'll have my team schedule our quarterly review meeting for next month. I walked out of that ballroom with my head high, leaving Trevor standing there in ruins. His phone started ringing before I even made it to my car. I didn't answer. He called 37 times that night, sent 62 text messages, each one more desperate than the last. I blocked his number at 2 a.m. and finally got some sleep. The next morning, I had my attorney deliver the divorce papers with his bags, already packed. Trevor showed up at the house by noon, but I'd changed the locks. He stood outside, pleading through the door, promising to change, begging for another chance, threatening to fight the divorce. But here's the thing about marrying a successful businesswoman who kept her assets separate. My prenup was ironclad. He was getting nothing except his own belongings and the car I'd bought him, which technically was in his name. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. The company quietly let Trevor go a month after the gala, said they were restructuring his department. He tried to badmouth me on social media, but his posts disappeared quickly once my lawyers got involved. Last I heard, he's working at a smaller firm in another state, far from the life he thought he was building. As for me, I'm done hiding. I'm back to running my business full-time, no longer pretending to be someone smaller. I'm dating again, but this time I'm upfront from day one. My newest boyfriend is a teacher who makes a fraction of what I do, and when I told him about my company on our second date, you know what he said? "That's incredible, tell me more. No insecurity, no jokes, just genuine interest and respect." I learned something valuable from Trevor, though it cost me 5 years to learn it. Never make yourself smaller for someone who should be celebrating how big you are. Never hide your light because someone else is afraid of the dark. And never, ever let someone's love be conditional on you staying beneath them. So that's my story. The husband who thought he was too good for his simple housewife learned she was the one signing his paychecks. Here's what I learned. Never dim your light for someone who should be celebrating your shine. If this story resonated with you, smash that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe for more real-life stories about karma, justice, and standing up for yourself. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done in my situation? Would you have revealed the truth sooner, or played the long game like I did? Remember, know your worth and never let anyone make you feel small. I'm Angela, and I'll see you in the next one.